Good evening and welcome to All 24 News. I'm Karim Zachary, your host for tonight's World News program. Let's delve into the latest stories. Occupation bullets defy truce agreement, a Zionist violation amid regional truce talks. What prompted the breach and how did the Palestinian resistance react? That's up next. West Bank in flames, 8 martyrs in Zionist escalation and UN warns of Gaza health catastrophe. What fueled the Zionist escalation and why is the UN sounding the alarm? Also ahead. Million voices rise against normalization. Moroccan cities erupt in protest as Royal Palace March suppressed. What's fueling opposition in Morocco and how did security respond? Stay tuned to find out. In Algeria's bold banking revolution, President unveils vision for deep reform, opening public banks' capital for a new era. What does this entail and how does the president plan to attract funds outside the traditional banking system? Stay tuned for details after the break. Hello again and welcome to the program. First, an in-depth look at the unfolding unfortunate events in the occupied Palestinian territories. The Palestinian resistance, represented by Al-Qassam brigades of Hamas, handed over 17 prisoners to the Red Cross on Sunday. The release includes 13 Israelis, 3 Thai and 1 Russian prisoner, marking the third phase of the prisoner exchange agreement between Hamas and the occupying Israel. The third batch comprises 39 children, with 21 from Al-Quds, 1 from Rafah in Gaza, and the rest from different West Bank governorates. This move is in response to Russian President Vladimir Putin's efforts and appreciation for Russia's support of the Palestinian cause. In the recent Palestinian-Israeli prisoner exchange, notable symbols of resistance, including some of the oldest female prisoners, were freed. Isra Jabis, released after 8 years, returned home in Jabal Mukabir, southern east of Al-Quds on Sunday. Despite her release, Isra finds it challenging to be happy amid the backdrop of killings and destruction from Zionist bombings in Gaza. This is Zara Farjani with the story.
In a moving chapter of resilience and liberation, the well-known Palestinian figure Isra Jabis graced the hallowed grounds of her home in East Al-Quds early on November 26th. Emerging like a phoenix from the ashes, Jabis, a formidable captive for 8 long years within the confines of Damon prison, finally breathed the air of freedom. As part of the second wave in the prisoner exchange deal, 39 Palestinians found their way back to the embrace of their homeland. Among them, a beacon of resolve, Isra Jabis stood tall. Her tale marred by a conviction bereft of evidence, unfolded in 2015 when she was accused of triggering a gas cylinder in her vehicle at a checkpoint, causing injury to a law enforcement officer. For this, she bore the weight of an 11-year sentence.
I cannot tell you about my pain. There is no need for that. All I can say is that I miss my family. This is the prison tax for the prisoner, the tax of love, longing and nostalgia.
Jabis, a prominent Palestinian female detainee, etched her story in the accounts of resistance. Her plight summarized the very essence of Zionist occupation criminality, both within prison walls and beyond. Amidst the labyrinth of her medical trial, deliberate neglect cast a sinister shadow, denying her the solace of treatment and the urgency of surgical intervention. Within the prison crucible, she weathered a tempest of violations and torture, becoming a living testament to the brutality of the occupier.
Girls are in a bad situation. Most of the girls inside of the 1948 territories do not know the feminist prisoner movement. They do not know how to deal with the prison guards.
In the contours of Isra's face, etched with the scars of suffering, lies a stark canvas illustrating the profound narrative of imprisonment within the entity's cruel and harsh jails. In stark contrast, the countenance of occupying Israeli prisoners, though shrouded in attempts to veil their testimonies, paint a different narrative. The occupation forces may endeavor to conceal the truth, but the faces of those incarcerated by the Palestinian resistance in the Gaza Strip defy the occupation's carefully crafted tale of their captivity conditions.
In similar news, the Wall Street Journal has revealed ongoing international efforts to extend the current Gaza truce by 4 days. This extension is aimed at securing the release of 40 to 50 women and children held by the Palestinian resistance in exchange for the release of 78 female prisoners and children by the Zionist occupation. President Joe Biden, for his part, has expressed his desire to extend the humanitarian truce, emphasizing that it would lead to more detainee releases and increased humanitarian aid flow. In a Sunday evening speech from Massachusetts, Biden highlighted the release of an American girl as part of these efforts.
That's my goal. That's our goal, to keep this pause going beyond tomorrow so that we can continue to see more hostages come out and surge more humanitarian relief into those who in need in Gaza. I'd like to see the pause go on as long as prisoners kept coming out.
In the days of the truce, the full extent of the massacres perpetrated by the Zionist occupation during 7 weeks of aggression has come to light. Rescue teams are working tirelessly to locate missing individuals beneath the rubble of destroyed homes. At the same time, occupation forces have impeded the return of 1.7 million displaced people in southern Gaza, barring them from inspecting their homes and properties bombed and destroyed in the central and northern Gaza Strip. For more on the story, we turn to Osama.
During the third day of the humanitarian truce, the Gaza Strip witnessed a grotesque unraveling, a nightmare scripted by the hands of the occupation forces. The aftermath of their orchestrated assault revealed a staggering 40,000 tons of explosives, chronicled by international news agencies and impassioned activists, laying down the profound destruction inflicted upon what was once the cherished homes of Palestinians.
There is a truce right now in Gaza City, but they are still there. We can't go to our homes. There are places that people can't reach. The Jews are here, and whoever tries to enter either gets beaten up, shot at, or detained.
This humanitarian catastrophe echoes the harrowing resonance of a Holocaust. Its extent so vast that media outlets grapple to encapsulate the full scope of the devastation. The deliberate communication cutoffs wielded by the entity in an attempt to veil the grim reality crumbled in the face of returning Palestinians who became eyewitnesses to the obliteration of entire residential squares in every corner of Gaza. The destruction across the battered Gaza Strip mirrors the ominous declaration of the Minister of War in the Zionist entity's government, a chilling vow to set Gaza back 50 years. This aggression spared no essential infrastructure, cold-heartedly targeting water, desalination plants, schools, and even hospitals.
What can I say? What do I tell you? You see the destroyed buildings? It was very hard to build this. I haven't been here for a while, but when I did, I lost my mind. Look at our condition. My son is in the south, and I know nothing about him. I know nothing about my daughters. People are destroyed. Their homes are destroyed. People who did not have their homes destroyed lost their children.
Beneath the rubble, an agonizing silence envelops numerous bodies, their stories lost to the world, as medical teams grapple with the monumental challenge of documenting their untold tragedies. Despite entity warnings and restrictions on movement in northern Gaza, hundreds of displaced Palestinians determinedly cling to their homes, even if reduced to rubble defiantly. In the wake of this unprecedented devastation, the urgent call for an extended truce resonates, coupled with the imperative to hold the entity accountable for the heinous crimes and the insidious policy of ethnic cleansing that stains this chapter of human history.
In central Gaza, a Palestinian farmer was killed and another injured by Zionist occupation forces while working on their land near Al-Maghazi camp. 7 Palestinians were wounded near Al-Quds and Indonesian hospitals during a temporary truce, with 3 injured in Beit Lahya and 4 near Al-Quds Hospital in Tel El-Hawa. In Nablus, the funeral of Uday Sanobar took place. He succumbed to injuries from live bullets during a Zionist forces incursion in his village. In a 14-hour aggression in Jenin, 5 Palestinians were martyred, 14 injured and 11 arrested. Occupation forces also stormed the city and camp, deploying snipers, destroying kiosks and launching drone raids, resulting in significant destruction, including vehicles and infrastructure.
We came in the morning where they were riding. They had been calling on the residents of the house to evacuate. The family of Suhaib, their son who was killed previously, they did not know there is no one in the house. They started shooting at it with 500 rifles. So they entered Suhaib's room upstairs. They hit it with energy bombs and blew it up. And here you can see the damage.
In Jenin Governorate, still, Palestinian resistance groups initiated a comprehensive strike on Sunday to honor the martyrs of Jenin and its camp. Official Palestinian media reported that the strike had a widespread impact, affecting all facets of life and commercial activities. Additionally, schools in the city and its camp were disrupted as part of the mourning for the souls of the fallen. The UN has issued a warning of a looming health catastrophe for 1.7 million displaced Palestinians in Gaza, with a significant risk of rising infectious diseases. UNRWA has labeled the humanitarian situation in Gaza as dangerous. Concerns were raised by the Palestinian Ministry of Health about the potential collapse of 3 hospitals in northern Gaza. Urgently needed is a substantial influx of medicines and medical supplies to address the critical health situation. Reporting on this is Sofian Kentari.
In battered Gaza Strip, a staggering 1.7 million people find themselves displaced, facing an imminent crisis marked by the dual threats of infectious diseases and hunger, dangers exacerbated by the lack of essential supplies. In this heart-wrenching reality, the struggle for survival unfolds, waiting for a turn with a gas bottle. A lifeline that many Palestinians seek in desperate races to gas stations, upon the faint promise of fuel trucks, yet hope turns to disappointment as hours stretch into eternity in crowded queues.
We heard that there is fuel distributed by the agency. I jumped from my bed at the school and have carried the gas canister to fill gas since dawn. As you can see, I have been waiting for 5 hours and am now going home without gas. They don't want to open for us. Our conditions are so difficult.
The scarcity of fuel, a seemingly innocuous commodity, set in motion a chain reaction of dire consequences. Drinking water becomes a luxury, basic services dwindle, and the vital heartbeat of the facilities, especially hospitals, rendering them non-operational for days on end.
My condition worsened. I couldn't take it. My wounded leg. There were many wounded who needed operations. They needed everything. There was so much pressure on the doctors who were trying to do as many operations as they could.
Amidst the overcrowded shelters and the shattered remnants of the health system, water and sanitation networks, a palpable fear emerged, an impending outbreak of infectious diseases among the 1.7 million displaced residents of Gaza.
We need to receive at least 200 trucks of humanitarian aids in a regular way during 2 months to reach the needs of Gazans. The situation in northern Gaza remains dangerous. There is no water to drink and no food to feed people in the Strip. The situation reflects the importance of humanitarian aid supplies.
The precarious balance types toward a humanitarian catastrophe. The disruption in the arrival of basic materials, coupled with the exhaustion of fuel reserves, casts a long, dark shadow over every facet of life in Gaza.
The first foreign delegations slated to take part in the Justice for the Palestinian People Symposium set to be held in Algiers next Thursday have arrived in Algeria as of Sunday. The symposium is part of Algeria's efforts to support the initiative to bring charges of genocide against the Zionist entity before the International Criminal Court, specifically related to war crimes in the Gaza Strip. Participating delegations have expressed their appreciation for Algeria's initiative, highlighting the creation of a joint working group to advocate for the Palestinian cause.
We believe that Algeria is the first country that carries the Palestinian concern and protects the Palestinian cause and the national decision. This is why we came to Algeria, martyrs, struggle, freedom, and independence, out of our absolute belief that the state, the people, and the Algerian Bar Association will carry the Palestinian legal file before the International Criminal Court in order to prosecute the Zionist criminals for what they have committed and are still committing of murder, displacement, and destruction against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and any place in the occupied Arab land of Palestine.
We will pursue the Zionist entity as an entity, leaders and individuals, with legal prosecution before the international and global judiciary, as well as the regional judiciary, to hold it accountable for the crimes committed against the Palestinian people in their defense and use of the right to self-determination. This Zionist entity used and practiced actions that violate all conventions. His actions constitute all the elements of the crime of aggression, war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity.
On Sunday, thousands of demonstrators marched in support of Palestine in the Canadian capital, Ottawa. The protesters denounced the continuous Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip since October 7th. Gathering in front of the Parliament building, they called for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, chanting slogans advocating for Palestinian independence and an end to the alleged genocide in the Strip. Protests denouncing the Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip persisted in several American cities, including Washington, New York, Chicago, Houston, and Arizona. Massive marches unfolded, with participants calling for an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Gaza. Activists seized the opportunity of Black Friday, a significant shopping week in the United States, to demonstrate in front of major commercial complexes. They urged Americans to boycott shopping this year, aiming to exert pressure on major companies to influence the American administration and compel the Zionist entity to halt its aggression. Calls to boycott products and services of companies supporting the Zionist entity have resonated during the global shopping season known as Black Friday. Retail establishments in the Arab region and some Islamic countries have acknowledged that their revenues were impacted during this season due to the boycott calls in support of the Palestinian cause.
For sure I'm boycotting, because we refuse that the companies that we support are for the capital of these companies to increase by taking our money only, to then support the Zionist entity that is killing our Palestinian brothers. It's fundamental for us as people supporting our Palestinian brothers to at the very least stop buying the products that help the Zionist entity kill our Palestinian brothers in Gaza.
To other news now, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune has ordered a comprehensive banking system reform emphasizing modern management and private sector involvement. The move aims to create a competitive environment and streamline industrial real estate grants for investment projects. Mr. Tebboune also called for simplifying procedures within the National Investment Agency to combat corruption and facilitate tasks for economic operators. Meanwhile, the Algerian cabinet has postponed the approval of a draft law regulating mining activities. The decision is to further enrich the project, involve specialists, and prepare for increased involvement of Algerian clients, aligning with the dynamic new industrial landscape and boosting development returns. On Sunday morning, the President of the Algerian National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, chaired a coordination meeting for the 47th European Symposium for Support and Solidarity with the Sahrawi People. Algeria is sending a significant delegation, including members from both parliamentary chambers. The meeting involved key figures such as the chairman of the Parliamentary Group for Friendship and Brotherhood, Algeria and Western Sahara, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Affairs Committee of the National Assembly, members of the Algerian Parliament, a representative from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the chairman of the Algerian National Committee for Solidarity with the Sahrawi People. The symposium is set to occur in Toledo, Spain on December 1st and 2nd under the slogan, "Independence is the only solution." Former Spanish Foreign Minister Arantxa González Laya has provided her perspective on the Western Sahara issue, emphasizing the need to address it at its roots. In an interview with El Independiente, El Independiente, she underscored that no single entity can represent the will of the Sahrawi Party and emphasized the crucial role of implementing UN resolutions to resolve the Western Sahara issue in line with international law. González Laya acknowledged Spain's complex position on the Sahrawi issue and highlighted the importance of supporting the efforts of the United Nations Secretary General and his special envoy to Western Sahara. The UN Secretary General's personal envoy to Libya, Abdullah Bathily, has accused unnamed political parties of obstructing the electoral process in the country. In an interview with the French magazine Jeune Afrique, Bathily pointed out that most Libyan politicians are reluctant to hold elections, suggesting that they seek to leverage the sale of oil for their gains. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, our news bulletin draws to a close. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care.